What's up, everybody? What is today? March 3rd. Really? Yeah, January, February, March. March 3rd. Wow, it's crazy that we're in March. Time is flying by. Okay, the baby just went down for a nap. Perfect timing. I don't have the baby monitor in here, so ideally the baby stays down. But we'll get right into it just in case she does not comply, because she's not a compliant, very young lady. Anyway, got some good questions, got them pulled up, and today's going to be a little bit more kind of off the cuff than normal. Saw the questions, liked the questions. The top two most upvoted ones I think might take the bulk of the time to address. And I'm just going to give you my off the, no prep, but no beautifully organized notes. I'm just going to chat about them, so hopefully that's good. And then we've got some shoutouts at the end, and we'll do the thing. So here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Ask Me Anything for the CrossFit Linchpin private track, the closed Facebook group. Every Thursday we do these. Members submit questions, other members upvote them, and I have the pleasure and the honor of answering the most popular ones each week. The top two this week are very cool. All the questions are cool, right? Gotta say that. But the first most upvoted one I really like, and I could chat about this for a bit. So let's just see how it goes. It's from Lita P, and she's got a couple parts to her question, so let me read it. Number one, is there a benefit to kipping movements in comparison to strict? I'm finding that kipping pull-ups and toes to bar bring on shoulder pain. Since I'm short, I'm able to do strict versions of these quite easily, but the coaches at my gym keep encouraging me to try kipping. Just wondering why that is. Number two, moderate to heavy back squats seem to aggravate my knees. I'm worried about losing muscle mass. Can I preserve muscle, maybe even add to it with light weight on the bar and only dumbbell squats? Okay. Fantastic question. I think so much there that a lot of people can benefit with. So, first of all, where to start with on this? Well, I'll just read it and go in order. Is there a benefit to kipping movements in comparison to strict? So, short answer to that is yes. There's, both have utility, both have value. One is not better, I guess, unless you want to quantify what that means, which I guess we could do. But anyway, I think you understand what I'm saying. One's not necessarily better. Both are fantastic. Is there a benefit, is what she asked. So I'm glad she didn't say is one better. Is there a benefit? Yeah, there's a benefit to kipping movement. So let's talk about first pull-ups. A strict pull-up versus a kipping pull-up. On both movements, a range of motion is the same. The athlete starts hanging from the pull-up bar, feet are off the ground, elbows are fully locked out, right? And the movement finishes, if it's a chin over bar pull-up, finishes when the athlete's chin breaks the plane created by the pull-up bar. That happens with the kipping pull-up. That happens with the strict pull-up. Now, both will involve similar musculature, okay? However, the kipping pull-up will require more musculature involved, whereas the strict pull-up will require less musculature involved. Whereas on the strict pull-up, you're certainly bracing your midline, right? You brace your midline with darn near everything. And you go ahead and pull your chin over the bar, largely in, upper body, lats, shoulders, pecs, biceps, all coming into play on the strict pull-up. Fantastic movement. I'm a huge fan of strict pull-ups. On the kipping pull-up, you're going to get all of that as well, same musculature, but the lower body is going to come into play with an opening and closing at the appropriate sequence of the hip. So you get some hip drive in there as well, which I think in the past, myself included, especially coming from the military, where it was strict pull-ups all day long, no wiggle, no nothing. And if your body wiggled at all, that was considered a cheating pull-up, right? And so I just had that brainwashed into my mind of anything other than a strict pull-up is a cheating pull-up. And it took me a while, especially coming into CrossFit, to understand why, looking at her question, there might be a benefit. Again, not saying one's better or worse, but a benefit to the kipping pull-up. So, benefits to the kipping pull-up. Okay, so we're covering the same range of motion with both. We're developing largely the same musculature with both. The kipping pull-up, compared to the strict, requires more musculature. It's always nice to work more musculature compared to less musculature, so that right in and of itself is a benefit. But then one of the key elements that makes CrossFit so darn effective, I guess you could say, is complicated movements that you've got to get the proper sequencing in your central nervous system to actually do this beautiful series of events in the proper firing to actually accomplish the movement. So the technique for the kipping pull-up is usually what frustrates people, because if people have a strict pull-up, they can't just look at a kipping pull-up and be like, oh yeah, I'll do that. They flop all around, they're out of sequence, things aren't firing in the right order, it looks all discombobulated, and they eventually start to get it, right? Well, they had the strength, if they could do strict anyway, they had the strength to do kipping pull-ups, they had the range of motion to do kipping pull-ups. Well, what didn't they have? They didn't have those neurological components, the coordination, accuracy, agility, balance, that side of the 10 general physical skills. That's more present in a kipping pull-up than it is in a strict pull-up. And that in and of itself has benefit and value beyond a shadow of a doubt, because, not to geek out too much, I know that I've covered this before on the Linchpin Conversations, and I'm almost positive that Adrian and I have as well on an episode of Varied Not Random. We did an episode just on the 10 general physical skills, and if you go back and listen to that Linchpin Conversation or that Varied Not Random one, those 10 general physical skills where you have 4 of them being organic, 4 of them being neurological, and then you've got power and speed in the middle. And to fully develop power and speed requires both the organic components as well as the neurological components. And so if we are not doing movements, or if we're doing movements that neglect the neurological components, which would be largely single joint movements, classic old school bodybuilding stuff, machine-based movements that take the balance away because you're not supporting your own body mass, movements that aren't, again, said single joint. We want to do multi-joint movements. Those are the ones that, and they have to be done in a proper order or sequence, so it requires not just the moving of your body, but your mind has to be actively engaged as to what's happening, and then issue those orders appropriately to various parts of your body to successfully accomplish what's going on there. Both sides of that, the organic and the neurological, come together to fully and most effectively develop power and speed. So if we remove the neurological complexity, movements that are complicated, so to speak, then we are, beyond a shadow of a doubt, taking a hit in power and speed. It's just physiologically going to occur. So that, talking to your question there, is there a benefit to kipping movements? There certainly is. It's kind of like, is there a benefit to the power clean, right? Because you can think of the power clean as you're kipping a barbell. It's not a strict movement, that's for darn sure. A strict movement would be you can deadlift the weight up to the hang position, and then from there you can only reverse curl in a strict motion whatever you can get to your front rack position. There can be no oomph, no hip hop, no power and speed. It is a deadlift, stop, reverse curl. You wouldn't be able to get anywhere near as much weight up to the front rack position if you had to do a static reverse curl from the hang, right? And I don't think anyone for a second doesn't understand the benefit of that example that I just said right there, of a power clean, an explosive core to extremity movement, technique intensive movement where you have to fire your body in this beautiful sequence of handing off from larger muscle groups to smaller muscle groups, that kind of wave of contraction to get that barbell up to the front rack position, and how much more loading you're going to be able to do that way, and how much more of an explosive and powerful athlete you will become doing power cleans compared to if you just had to do deadlift to reverse curl. And if you had to get a certain amount of weight off the ground to the front rack position for a certain number of reps, you would most likely be able to accomplish that work faster if somebody allowed you to power clean the weight every time compared to you had to deadlift it up, then reverse curl it. And sorry, if your little biceps get sore and you can't reverse curl it anymore, you just need to stand around till they recover again. And there's your buddy over there in the corner just popping off those power cleans, getting the work done. So that example right there, I would also say, is illustrative. No example's perfect, right? But it's illustrative to kipping versus strict, and there's absolutely benefit there. So that's a short kind of encapsulation answer there. That's part one of your question. Let's get back to it. So, is there benefit? Absolutely. Should you do both? Absolutely. Next part. I'm finding that kipping pull-ups and toes to bar bring on shoulder pain. Since I'm short, I'm able to do the strict versions of these quite easily, but the coaches in my box keep encouraging me to try kipping, just wondering why that is. Okay, so now we've entered a different part of the question. Question number one was, is there benefit to kipping? That's a resounding yes. Now, second part of the question is, well, when I kip, it causes pain. Should I continue? Ah, now we're on a different point. My short had to just blurt out an answer real quick as the elevator door was closing. Hey, when I do kipping movements, they hurt. Should I keep doing them? No. That would be my really short answer right there. We could probably peel back layers of the onion a lot more, but that would be my really short one. So now we understand that kipping has benefit, right? And that in an ideal world, the athlete wouldn't be in pain when this occurs, and they could do both. So now in her case, I would try to have somebody who is a competent professional do some sort of, get their hands on you, do some tests and see this pain that's being caused. Why is that? Is it through improper sequencing? Is there something in the technique that could be done better, and therefore you're straining in a way that maybe you shouldn't strain, and that's causing you some discomfort? Maybe that can be remedied. Maybe you've just got a muscle strain in some other area. Maybe your technique's great, but life's rough. You strained something, and some physical therapy can occur. That pain goes away. Kipping no longer causes you issues. If one of those two things happened, great. Then I would pursue continuing to do both kipping and strict movements. Now, let's say it's the outcome that is less desirable, but happens every now and then in people, which is, hey, I got checked out. Everything looks great. Not quite sure why. It's a bit of a mystery to everybody, but at the end of the day, the deal is when I kip, I get some discomfort and pain. When I do strict, I do not. Should I kip? No. That would be my really short answer right there. I can't speak as to why the coaches at your box keep encouraging you to try kipping if it's causing you pain. I'm not really an advocate of just arbitrarily and randomly pushing through pain. I don't think that's an intelligent way to go. Now, they may have some reason that I'm unaware of, something that I'm not seeing since I'm not there, so take that for what it's worth, but you're asking me for my 2 cents on it. I wouldn't have you kip. Now, somebody might be really trying to beat the drum of kipping because, well, like I said before, you're going to do those power cleans a whole lot faster, right? So now if you're forced to do strict pull-ups or forced to do strict toes to bar in a workout that everyone else is kipping, the time it takes you to do that workout is going to be most likely a little bit too significantly longer than your peers. And maybe there's a concern that, again, if you're a good CrossFit nerd and geek here, right, as the time increment increases for a set amount of work, by its very nature, your power or intensity is decreasing. And if we understand that power or intensity, an overwhelming majority of the times, is that key element to getting an athlete fitter faster, then we would want to have that athlete not have their power and intensity take a hit. Now that is good, logical truth the majority of the time, but that doesn't mean it's going to apply to every single human being in every single situation until the end of time. That's, one of those most categories. Most people, most situations, most of the time. Perhaps her case is not quite in that most deal. So for somebody like that, again, if nothing could be done to alleviate the pain that the athlete was having, and let's say that Fran comes up, okay, 21:15:9, thrusters and pull-ups, and let's say you get a good Fran, okay, you forget like a 5-minute Fran, that's most likely happening because you're kipping the pull-ups, and it's a high power, short time domain, high intensity workout. It's short and sharp. It's right where it needs to be. And now that athlete that for years and years has had a 5-minute Fran says, I'm going to do Fran today, but kipping gives me an issue, so I'm not going to kip the pull-ups. And let's say that for 50%, it's over 50% slower. So my Wi-Fi just cut out. Hopefully everybody can still see me. If you can still see me, give me a little bit of a wave. Well, so now, what should we do with that athlete, right? Because we understand that intensity is so important. Well, now their intensity, relatively speaking, to where they were with their 5-minute Fran, now it's 7:30, it's 50% slower, it's in the toilet. Yeah, I get that. But I would still say in the grand scheme of things, with 15, 20, 25, 30-minute workouts, that a 7.5-minute workout is relatively short, and we can program intervals and do things that get us in the sub 3, sub 2, sub 1, sub 30 second. We're running 100-meter repeats, things of that nature. So we're still going to get there. Well, now I've got this athlete that, okay, their Fran went from 5 minutes to 7:30 because they're doing strict pull-ups. They're doing strict pull-ups. A beautiful, fantastic, life-improving, functional movement. They're not sitting on some machine doing something else. They're doing thrusters and they're moving their body. They're absolutely winning. And if you did that for the remainder of your time on this planet, you would be great. Okay, your friend that does a kipping Fran is going to be faster than you. Who cares? That whole comparison is a thief of joy. Got to take a look at where are you in your fitness journey? What is going on with your body? And then what are the best, smartest, most intelligent decisions that you can do to keep yourself training for years and years? And if kipping causes you issues, I wouldn't kip. And I deal with things like this as well. Things that just cause me pain and cause me aggravation. I just don't do them. And if I tried for years and years to rectify or correct the problem, and if it didn't go away, I don't just continually bang my head on the wall and hope for the best. I move on. I'll give you a couple of examples. I've been very vocal about this, right? Terrible shoulders from the military motorcycle wrecks. It's more likely that I will not be comfortable going overhead than I will be comfortable going overhead. So when something comes up that there's an overhead movement, I will scale or modify that in the blink of an eye without a moment's hesitation, and I won't care that I didn't do it prescribed, and whoop-de-doo. Now it took me a while to get to this level of removing my ego and making smart decisions. That wasn't year one in CrossFit, I'm here to tell you. The workout that we did yesterday, that wonderful, glorious trap, that disgusting, terrible, awful workout, all those things at the same time, the 16-minute EMOM of the 2 minutes of work, 2 minutes of rest. And one of them was a push jerk overhead, 135. Nope, didn't do that. That would have caused me more pain than progress. So why in the world would I do that? But I had to get in pressing, so I pressed yesterday in a direction that suited me and didn't cause me pain. I broke out the bench and my 50-pound dumbbells, and when everybody else was doing a push jerk overhead, I was doing dumbbell press, like dumbbell bench press, because overhead just wasn't smart yesterday. And that's a great example, getting back to her initial question, because you could say that the push jerk is far more demanding of coordination, accuracy, and balance. I missed one. Coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, the neurological components, than a bench press. I'm laying on a bench. Something else is supporting my body weight. It's a really simple movement compared to a push jerk. There's way less technique involved. And so everything about the push jerk is, quite frankly, a better movement. I didn't do it. I did a movement that, quote unquote, wasn't as good, but for me, that was the right decision for me to live a pain-free life. And so I would hope that everybody is making similar decisions every day and not grinding through some sort of discomfort just because, well, darn it, I don't know, that's what prescribed says. So we want to get away from that at Linchpin. We do things differently. We want to be doing things for the long term. And, well, I almost want, don't let me forget about just, pain. I don't want anybody living with chronic pain. Chronic pain is just the worst, which is why we also have another phrase that we'll tag or say every now and then at Linchpin, right? And I can think about this regularly with Ben G or Nicholas M up there in Canada, who had things going on that will say pain-free is the way to be. And when they go and do a session and they're like, lifted this, did whatever, no pain, pain-free is the way to be. That's what you want to be. Too many people try to just either lift too much or do too much volume or hit too many days of intensity in a row. Maybe they watch too many documentaries on big-time athletes. I don't know what it is. And then you get these little dings and pains and nagging injuries, and you think the right thing to do is to be tough and to fight through them. And now you're just on a bad spiral. Pain-free is the way to be. And if you don't believe me, well, it's your right, I guess, not to believe me. It's fine. But that's probably because you have not yet been injured. And if you get injured, you will suddenly realize that it's just the worst thing in the world. It just sucks. You're used to having this amazing body that you can do whatever you want with, and all of a sudden you can't use a shoulder or an arm or a knee or a leg, or you tweaked your back because you did too much or you overdid it, and all of a sudden you realize how wonderful it is just having a body that you can use and be pain-free. And some people get little injuries because they are training improperly, doing too much, lifting too heavy, got to lift heavy every day or some sort of nonsense. Or, you do stupid things like I did. You put a couple motorcycles into a ditch. That kind of changes the course of your life. You break your pelvis in the military like I did. And some of those things are just your friend for life. And you just work around them, right? I mean, so the funny thing is, like, I can squat. It takes me a while to warm up, get my hip okay from that breaking of my pelvis. But there are just some things that are just painful every day, and they're just my little friends, my little companions. I need to work around them. So as odd as it is that I can squat, do a back squat or a front squat or thrusters again, as long as I warm up, every day it is agony. And you can ask my wife on one of these if you think I'm exaggerating. Me putting my sock on my right foot, which is the side that I injured, broke it 20 years ago. That, if you think about it, if you put, one foot on the other knee to stick the sock on or something like that, that sort of external rotation with my femur to get my foot like that is so tight it's ridiculous, and so painful it is. It sucks. Getting my sock on every day is a miserable, miserable experience. That's nothing from CrossFit. That's just things that have happened to my body over the course of my life. But that affects what I do every day. That affects my low back, which in turn affects my shoulders. It's tough to break your pelvis and not have it affect your entire body. So point being, I take questions like this, they're really big to me and really important. Like what you can do to make good decisions to keep yourself as pain-free as possible, have the highest quality of life possible for as long as possible. And so, kipping causes you issues, I wouldn't kip. Okay, next part of a question. Moderate to heavy back squats seem to aggravate my knees. I'm worried about losing muscle mass. Can I preserve muscle, maybe even add to it with light weight on the bar or dumbbell squats? So, let's see. This is kind of related to the first question. So I would say all the stuff that I said to the first half of the question applies to this one. Because you're saying that you do something and it hurts your knees. I don't want anything that hurts your knees. I would stay the heck away from that. Period. End of story. But like I said with the first half of the question, ideally you would have some sort of competent professional check that knee out, make sure everything is actually okay. Is there something that can be through PT or whatever, corrected, fixed, and then bang, you're back on track. If so, do that. But if the answer is, the most wonderful professional in the world checked me out, hey, sorry, I'm that person, modern heavy back squats cause me my knee pain, I would not do them. I would not do them. You do not want a bad knee on planet Earth. There's some things you don't want. You don't want a bad knee, you don't want a bad shoulder. Period, end of story. So I understand how amazing the back squat is. Trust me, I am amazing how much, I mean, talk about a building block functional movement for long-term health and fitness. The back squat is potentially king, right? So when I'm saying if that causes you pain, don't do it. Because even though the back squat has all those benefits, again, if we're removing ego and now we're just saying, well, this is the body that I've got, these are the issues that I've had, we've figured out that they're going to be with me long term, can't be corrected, what do I do now? Well, we find other ways to get you below parallel that don't aggravate the knee. We find other ways to strengthen the lower body that don't cause you pain. And muscle, as you're talking muscle mass, which can be different than strength, okay, so top end strength, 1s, 3s, 5s, things like that. If you're talking muscle mass, actual volume, like hypertrophy, a lot of that stuff occurs in sets of like 8 to 12 reps, things of that nature. So if you're talking about muscle mass, which in a lot of that occurs not only with lifting, accessory work, but then also in the beauty of CrossFit and a lot of the mixed modality, multiple movement, multi-round workouts, 21, 15, 9, sets of 50, sets of 30 and all that. Most of us get tired and don't blow through those things. You're probably doing 8 to 12 reps of something, the barbell hits the ground, you go off and do something else, you come back, hit 8 to 12 reps, so there's a lot of interesting work in CrossFit that I don't think people appreciate at first glance, and it's all wrapped into the mystery of how the heck does this stuff work so well. But getting back to the question, you could do, again, depending upon what works for you, a front squat, it does put your torso in a slightly different position. Does that feel the same? If it feels different, great. You've got a way to go right there. If it does, okay, I got it. We hang that one up too. There are other bars, like a safety squat bar, you could try that, again, put you in a bit of a different position. How does that feel in the knee? Good or bad? Keep it or remove it. But then things such as dumbbell walking lunges, dumbbell box step-ups at a height that just gets that lead leg just below parallel, good to go. Dumbbell squats, something that you mentioned as well, and a myriad of other movements as well, depending upon how, there's belt squats and other, even like, I think it's called a belt squat machine that Rogue sells. I'm sure it's most likely comes with a good bit of coin involved with it, but there are things that you could do to strengthen your lower body and try a wide variety of them that maybe would not aggravate that knee. And I am a firm believer that if somebody told me, hey, you can't back squat for the rest of your life, I would weep because I understand how beneficial that is. And then, let's say somebody said you can only dumbbell lunge for the rest of your life. That's going to be your lower body movement. I'd be like, you know what? I can work with that. Put on some knee sleeves so I don't bust my knee up on the floor or whatnot, and I can grab a pair of dumbbells and lunge, 8 to 12 steps or something like that with a pair of dumbbells that's heavy enough that after 8 to 12 steps I need to set them down and take a break, and I can do that for 4 rounds or 5 rounds or something like that. And then on other days I'll get a lighter set of dumbbells and lunge longer and things like that. If you gave me just the dumbbell lunge for the rest of my life, I would not have a lack of leg strength. Now, I'm not going to go win a powerlifting competition, but if you're talking about being fit and ready for anything that you're going to face in a normal life on planet Earth, you will be phenomenally fine. So that's my kind of question, my answer for that as well is, yes, you can certainly preserve muscle mass, for sure. And since you said dumbbell squats, I'm assuming that those treat you well. If those treat you well, they're your new friend. Embrace them. And there's also somebody that we talked about. We've done like 240 of these Linchpin conversations, so I can't remember which one it was in. But there was an Olympic what was he? I'm going to mess it up. Hammer thrower, shot put, discus, some sort of big, strong power athlete guy like that. And my buddy Stefan Roche, who's a collegiate strength and conditioning coach, he told me the story. This guy was a beast, squatting, massive weight and all that, and that was what allowed him to just throw this object so far. Well, then as a master's athlete, he suffered some sort of injury, as you could imagine, may occur, and could never come close to lifting anywhere near the loading that he could in his younger days because he had this injury now. And he could lift more, but he had to not lift more because it caused him pain. So he had to intentionally hold back and stop at a certain loading. And my buddy told me, I feel like the guy's last name is Powell, this Olympic athlete. But, long story short, sorry I'm rambling now, the impressive part of the story was that for the rest of his career, now as a master's athlete, he would never touch more than 50% of his 1 rep back squat. And since it was 50%, everything that he did was higher volume as far as reps goes, sets of 10 and higher. And doing that allowed him to still be ferociously competitive, astonishingly strong, and still win all kinds of medals in his later years. So point being, even at a reduced loading, if a reduced loading is something that you can squat and now it just has to be for higher reps because heavy and moderately heavy is what hurts your knee, and you find the loading that doesn't hurt your knee and you just do more repetitions and that doesn't cause you knee pain, winning. I would recommend that as well. So, okay. Wow, that took a bit longer than I thought. But that was a great question, a fantastic question. Okay. The next most upvoted. Oh, good. All right, great. You're watching right now. I'm glad that helped. The next one is relatively won't take too long, so then we'll do some Linchpin shoutouts and we'll hop out of here. Next most upvoted one is from Eric J. Wonderful gentleman who does online virtual coaching, tuning up people's technique in the private Facebook group. Thank you so much, Eric. And if you haven't taken advantage of his services, you should. Just tag him, and he provides awesome feedback. All right. On the last Varied Not Random podcast, you mentioned how you've started using the comments section when logging in btwb. I think it would be great to have some discussion on this, specifically how best to use this option. So, I don't think it's overly complicated. I don't think it needs to be. I personally just believe it's underutilized. And so when you log a score on the btwb app, first of all, there's a little section down the bottom that says notes. And it can be easy to do. You just log your score and move on. But especially since having our baby about 8 months or so ago, when everything was just abnormal. Sleep was abnormal. Routine was abnormal. Usually I get to warm up. Didn't get to warm up. Like whatever it was, things were just different. I started really using the notes section just to write down what I had going on that day, maybe how sleep was, how nutrition was, how did I actually feel, did I get to warm up, whatever it just happened to be, so that let's say it was a workout that I've done several times, maybe it was something like Cindy, and I don't know, I did terrible on it, let's say. Well, the next time that it comes up and I reference back, and I'm like, oh geez, what happened last time? And I can look at the notes, and the notes will say, our little baby was the devil and didn't sleep at all, and I'm very unhappy. It might say something like that. Very unhappy, very tired, and just never felt like I could get out of second gear. Felt like I was moving through mud the whole time, or didn't get to warm up, or got rushed, or, here's my Helen time. In the middle of Helen, I had to stop for 2 minutes because the baby monitor went off, had to go in, take care of something, come back out, then started swinging the kettlebell again. Like, things like that I'll just put in the notes. Or conversely, didn't get to warm up, somehow PR'd my front squat. Whatever it was, the notes section I have found has been just a really nice little thing because the workouts stay the same, right? Cindy is Cindy. It's a 20-minute AMRAP of pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. Helen is Helen. Fran is Fran. DT is DT. Those are unchanging elements, unless you modify them in some way. But so while those are static, everything else in the world is dynamic, meaning you. You are a dynamic creature. Your sleep is dynamic. Your stress levels are dynamic. Everything about your life that is going to influence how that static workout goes are moving variables that are different. And so it's always interesting to me that I think some people believe that they can have everything in their life totally different the next time a workout comes up, and just because it's the same workout, they think they know what they should expect. Maybe, but not necessarily, because how are the last 3 days of sleep when you're going to attack DT today compared to the last 3 days of sleep you had 3 months ago when you PR'd it? Today you really had to cut the warm-up in half because you've got a work meeting and whatever, and last time you did DT, it was on a Saturday and you had nowhere to be, and you're just beautifully warm and your favorite playlist was on and just all the stars aligned. I mean, those are just good pieces of information to have so that you can keep yourself sane. Because again, while the workouts stay the same, our life is always evolving. Could be at a high, could be at a low, but it's evolving. It's something in my eye here. My goodness. Okay, so I'm a big fan of the notes section, and I'll also say, because this is a question that comes up every now and then, I don't think everyone knows how to save those really cool photos through the btwb app that overlay the workout on whatever photo you choose, and you can post it on your Instagram or post it in the Facebook page. So when you go into the app, you log your score, and then on one of the final pages it will say whether you want to take a photo or choose a photo. And let's say you have a cool photo on your phone that you want to use. Tap choose photo, it'll pull up your photo album. You tap on whatever photo you like, and then it will take a second. Be patient. It takes 2 or 3 seconds, and then that photo it'll appear in the app behind the workout, and you'll have this really cool photo overlaid with the workout. From there, I can't remember if you just tap on it or if you hold it down for a second, but either tap on it or hold it down for a second, and a little screen will come up on your phone that says save image. Tap save image, and now that is just saved to your photo album as a cool square photo that fits beautifully on Instagram, and then you can just post it on Instagram. And life's awesome because gotta get your Instagram game on point, right? Okay, here we go. 3 Linchpin shoutouts. First one, this is from Colton H, and this is called Leo Variants. Leo meaning limited equipment option, our dumbbell workouts. Colton says, I pretty much have all the equipment necessary to do any workout, but I'm seriously considering joining the limited equipment crew for a couple of months. Anybody else voluntarily do this? And there's a bunch of people saying yes. And I would encourage everybody to do that. It's the variance that you will get from doing dumbbells instead of barbell, whether it's a mixed modality day or a heavy day, will treat you well. Variance helps drive results forward. So if you can't remember the last time you grabbed some dumbbells because you were just a barbell ninja, do something like, I don't know, 1 workout a week. Choose the limited equipment option. Some people have done it for an entire month, or maybe every 3rd week you're just going to do all those workouts as the limited equipment option, whatever they happen to be, but have some fun with it. Okay, next one is entitled Vacation Fitness. This is from Mike L. Last week, my wife and I had a fun vacation getaway. My workouts weren't in order or perfect. No warm-ups or cool-downs. I had to modify based on where I was and what was available. Fitness was achieved, and I was able to keep up consistently. This allowed me to walk into the garage when I got home with a sense of accomplishment instead of a sense of dread and disappointment. Amen to that. That's personally how I feel. Like a body in motion stays in motion. And if I take a week off, the coming back and getting in the game again just feels awful. Whereas if I go away on a trip or a vacation or whatnot, and even if my workouts aren't perfect, but I get a little something in, right? Just bricks in the wall, just a little something in each day. the coming back is so much better. So I don't feel like I'm restarting. Okay, this last one is from Elena B, and it's entitled Postpartum PRs. A lot of alliteration in that sentence. Hi there. I'm not very active here in the Facebook group. I don't usually find the time, but I had to come by and say thank you for this amazing programming. I've been following for some time your workout from Instagram and then joined the private group back in August. I was sick for around 3 weeks during the holiday time. I was planning to start slowly because after a long holiday and sickness, I always found it very hard to go back, which is normal, but apparently not when you follow Linchpin programming. First thing I did was overhead squat. Felt good and had a postpartum PR. And then the next day was planning to do an easy 5K row, but I wound up keeping a sustainable pace and got more than a 3-minute PR. Congratulations, Elena. A 3-minute PR on a 5K row is absolutely insane. That's fantastic. So that's that. The last thing I'll kind of say is I'm sure everyone's noticed on the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube channel, there's a playlist entitled Garage Gym Tours. I've been putting up a new video every single day from videos that I receive from the Linchpin community around the world. So if you're a member of the private track, you work out in your garage, your backyard, your apartment, your home, I don't care where you work out, shoot a little video and post it on YouTube and then send me that link to the email address is info, I-N-F-O, info@crossfitlinchpin.com, and I'll go ahead and put it on our YouTube channel, and that'll be really cool. It's been awesome to see where everyone lives all around the world, how they're working out and having all that good stuff. So that's it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Enjoy your rest day, and we will talk later.